Hello, darlings. There's an article on GameRant that suggests that there would be time travel in Dragon Age 4.
You'll have to do better than that.
I've mentioned in the past that the way this would make sense would be through the Fade, revisiting memories in certain locations for knowledge to understand and find clues of how to defeat/redeem Solas. That's how it would make the best sense for me, because I'm not sure that I want a Dragon Age 4 that's time hopping necessarily. Let's read through the article and I'll chime in with my thoughts as I go along. So the article is from GameRant by Charlie Stewart. Dragon Age Inquisition's time travel could only be the beginning. A lot of things could only be the beginning. There's already evidence that Dragon Age Inquisition's time travel plotline could come back in Dragon Age 4, which would explain a lot. I don't know how much it explains, but perhaps it would come back. Dragon Age Inquisition's quest in Hushed Whispers saw the Inquisitor go to Redcliffe, a familiar location from Dragon Age Origins. The quest didn't just give nostalgic fans the opportunity to see the long-term effect of the Warden's decision, however. In Hushed Whispers introduced time travel to the series, and there's evidence suggesting time travel could return in Dragon Age 4. I don't know how prominent it would be in Dragon Age 4. It's interesting because in Hushed Whispers, as I discovered with Hassan Lavellan, the area of effect circles, sometimes he would shoot arrows faster, sometimes it would slow time down, so that would be interesting to explore those things. I mean, if you do Champions of the Just, Alexius is still alive potentially. And then if you do the mages, but then Dorian might be studying Alexius's magic. And then there's also the Venatori who might have a copy of, his notes or something and be also studying Alexius's magic. Dragon Age 4 setting, its main plot, and the events of Inquisition all point towards the return of the time travel plotline. I don't know how accurate this is because there are a lot of other things in Tevinter Nights and Inquisition that introduce the main plot of Dragon Age 4. So there's Solas, there's the Kunari invasion, there is the groups and the monsters, Gilanane's monsters, transforming beings into monsters with the Lyrium. There's the spreading red Lyrium and the executors that were introduced that are taking the forefront, important plot lines. And so I don't think that time travel, if it is revisited, I don't think it will be the main plot line. It doesn't make sense for it to be the main plot line. Here's a breakdown of the role time travel played in Inquisition, and why the inclusion of time travel in the last game could have been done with the sequel in mind. So Inquisition's time travel. It's no secret that Dragon Age Inquisition was made with a multi-game arc in mind. Yes, and just mentioned all the various branches. This is particularly clear with the introduction of Solas, the Dreadwolf, who is set up as Dragon Age 4's villain. Yes, and there's the duality of Solas being the fallen hero and potentially being redeemable, and the duality of Solas versus the Dreadwolf, like the poster of the Dreadwolf Rises that looks as though Solas is stopping the Dreadwolf like a separate entity. I have theories about that Solas, part of him, is sundered from himself, so it is him but separated from him, and so it's like he's at war with himself, with both sides. It could also be the duality, he's at war with both sides of himself, the duality of the choices in Trespasser, whether we want to destroy him or redeem him, and that sort of thing. And I tweeted earlier tonight that Solas could go either of two ways, being very redeemed or do a full-on Anakin Skywalker and turn full-on to the dark side, which technically means he can be redeemed further in the future by his child after the woman he loves has died, But, there's that potential. Dragon Age Inquisition introduced time travel. That time travel aspect doesn't seem to have a huge effect on the plot overall. Well, it is important, and it's a very touching with the Leliana scene and everything when we do in Hushed Whispers. The quest in Hushed Whispers only appears if the player decides to go to Redcliffe and side with the mages in the Mage Templar War. We can still go to Redcliffe by doing Champions of the Just. We go to Redcliffe, and then we do Champions of the Just. And so Redcliffe is unlocked. The Inquisitor visits Redcliffe and learns that the mages have been taken over by Tevinter Magister and Venatori cultist Geryon Alexius. With the help of future follower Dorian Pavis, the Inquisition finds out that Alexius has the power to reorder time itself. Yes, and if Alexius is part of the Venatori, I'm pretty sure the Venatori have knowledge about this magic as well. During a confrontation, Alexius flings the party just 1 year into the future. They fight their way back to Alexius, freeing their companions, and eventually make it back to the present to recruit the mages into the Inquisition. Yes, it's an interesting quest. Well, it's a very touching quest. But the use of time travel seems strangely restrained. I don't find it technically restrained. I find that, it's moderate enough. I like how it's used there. I wouldn't want time travel for many missions. So in Dragon Age 4, maybe for one mission or something, if time travel is present in Dragon Age 4. Not only is it part of a quest that only activates if the player chooses to pursue recruiting the mages, but they only travel 1 year ahead, well, because of the Corypheus plotline. It could be that this time travel plot was introduced to experiment with the idea in the setting before using it to more dramatic effect in Dragon Age 4. So I don't know, perhaps. And I mean, if we are to visit places in the past, it would make sense maybe in specific locations, like Filium Trevelyan and Brother Genitivi went to the Shattered Library in the Silent Plains in Navarra to learn clues on how to defeat Solas, how to save Thedas from Solas, basically, to learn clues in regards to that. And so perhaps in certain locations we would go back in time and they were learning things about the Elven Pantheon, so maybe we'd learn things about the Elven Pantheon too. Visit the Fade in the past in those locations, the library before it becomes shattered. Dragon Age 4 will be set in the Tevinter Imperium, and we've seen evidence that it also Navarra, the Anderfels, and Antiva, I suspect also Rivain, and because of Tevinter Nights with Lomarin and everything, and also I suspect Starkhaven and other places we haven't visited yet of the Free Marches, where both Alexius and Dorian come from. Tevinter is ruled by an exclusively mage upper class. Yes, and there's the Siskari mages that we saw concept art for. They're the Venatori, the Magisterium. Different points in history, Tevinter's rulers have used dangerous magic to achieve their ends. Yes, and they, assaulting the Golden City, which apparently was already corrupted if Corypheus speaks the truth. So that's interesting. That's something else to explore. Things about the Maker and what Corypheus said, plus whoever's left in the Fade, and Nightmare is still in the Fade. Still a lot of plot lines. Time travel can't be the main plot line. Not possible. Centuries before Dragon Age takes place, the Imperium used blood magic to raise the capital of the Elven Empire. Yes, and used blood magic to raise the capital of the Maker. The Dreadwolf's plan, crying Solas. BioWare hasn't revealed many details about Solas's plan in Dragon Age 4, though in Tevinter Nights there is more that is revealed regarding what disrupts, and different things. Fans know that he plans to tear down the veil between the Fade and Thedas, a magical barrier the Dreadwolf himself put up ages ago, just being nitpicky, to free the elves by trapping their false elven gods, the Avenuris, in the Fade. It has been suggested that tearing down the veil now could be hugely risky.
As this world burned in the raw chaos.
Not just risky, like complete destruction. But Solas has expressed his willingness to sacrifice the other races of Thedas if it means reviving the Elven Empire.
Even if it means this world must die.
However, it's unclear how Solas's plan would end with the elves rising back to power and the other civilizations crumbling. Yes, I'm not sure how that would work either, how he plans to do that. One of the few ways that could actually let Solas reset the clock on the Elven Empire is using the same magic Alexius and Inquisition on the much larger scale. I don't know that he would go back in time to do that, because he might go back in time and realize that the only way is to actually put up the veil again, because if he goes back in time, the Avenuris might still kill Mythal. The elves, he still has to free the elves, and the conclusion might be that he has to lock up the Avenuris anyway, so I don't know how that works. I would prefer to just keep moving forward, and I think that at the same time, Solas has mentioned that everything would burn in the raw chaos. If everything's burning, he's not going back in time. If everything's burning, it's a new plan. With the magic unleashed from the Fade, it could be possible for Solas to send Thedas back to the ages of the Elven Empire. Yeah, I'm not sure that this is part of his plan. He might explore the idea, but I'm not certain that he'd do that. This would allow Solas to stop himself from putting up the veil to begin with. Yeah, but like I said, he might conclude, he still has to free the elves and stop the Avenures, and he might conclude it's still the only way, which severed the elves from most of their magic and ultimately made them vulnerable to the Tevinter Imperium. I have a theory that the red Lyrium idol was used to kill Mythal by the Avenures, and so once they were locked away, Solas claimed it as his own, and so that's why now he says that it's his, and maybe he's going to use that to destroy the Avenures. So if he does go back in time, maybe he needs the red Lyrium idol to bring it back in time with him and use that on the Avenurus instead. That's the way I see it would work. Otherwise, he still has to free the elves, and I think the only way is to lock the Avenurus up all the same. It would also effectively erase the human nations of Thedas from existence, also likely preventing the Kunari from taking over Parvalan and stopping the dwarves from growing in power. And we know they're the Executors, the Scaled ones, but we don't know how long the Executors have existed. We haven't met the Scaled ones, and so there are other races that we haven't met yet that we don't know exactly how that would impact them. The Dreadwolf wants to restore the Elven Empire, but without a plan to destroy the Veil, seems more likely to flood Thedas with demons that kill every human, dwarf and elf they find. Yeah, it's more tearing down the Veil than going back in time. A plan to literally prevent the mistakes of the past rather than just correct them could explain why Solas feels so confident unleashing the power of the Fade into Thedas. But also going back in time is a correction in and of itself because he would know. But when we go back in time and in Hushed Whispers, in that future, he says,
You would think such understanding would stop me from making such terrible mistakes. You would be wrong.
And so it's still a mistake. In that future, he recognizes mistakes. I think in the present moment, he might not necessarily recognize his mistakes yet. And that's why he always has regrets, and there are always mistakes, and there are always regrets. So it's still a correction going back in time. It'll still be a mistake, and it'll still be a regret, no matter what he does. Time travel in Dragon Age 4. This could manifest in a few different ways. Players might find themselves in the present day with history retroactively change, or as in Dragon Age Inquisition, may find themselves chasing Solas through time to prevent him from destroying the Veil. I don't like the idea of time hopping. I wouldn't like that necessarily. I'm not a fan of that. I prefer for history, but the visiting for the history might interact with it, but it doesn't affect the change. In fact, Solas's entire plan might rely on going back and preventing his old self from creating the Veil to begin with. Maybe because he's sundered from himself and the Dreadwolf and everything, but I don't know. This would stop him trapping the Elven gods, so he needs a plan, maybe the Red Lyrium idol, to kill the Elven gods. But it would also likely stop the Elven Empire from being destroyed. Maybe we'd follow him, and maybe he'd, either use the Red Lyrium idol or he'd do the same thing over again. If it's just one mission, I wouldn't mind the time travel for one mission. I don't think that Solas is the one to use the time travel, to be honest. I think if there is time travel in Dragon Age 4, it would be the Venatori. Because like that meme, make Tevinter great again, the Venatori want to bring back Corypheus. In Tevinter Nights, they tried to unleash the Forbidden One, the Formless One, the fourth Forbidden One, and they wanted to raise Minrathous, like R-A-Z-E, raise Minrathous and destroy everything. It would have created pockets in the Veil and everything, and potentially tear down the Veil, and they want to destroy everything to bring back the Tevinter of old, of the glory, Tevinter's glory age. The glorious time of not necessarily in the glory age, the time when Tevinter was most glorious. There we go. It's confusing. This would allow BioWare to show lore locations like Alathan in all their glory. Talk about glory. But I think that BioWare can still do that with visiting through the Fade, the past, not with time hopping. It would give the storytellers a chance to show everything that the elves have lost, and it would show just how tragic Solas is as a villain driven entirely by regret. And there's the regret demon and everything. I don't think we need to time hop to have that effect. But visiting through the Fade, visiting memories, I think that would have a greater impact. At the end of Inquisition, Solas also appeared to absorb the soul of Mythal, aka Flemeth. And I have theories about that too. You know, I don't think Flemeth died. Even if you don't have Kieran, she's putting an orb of something in the Illuvian. So that's Uchtemiel, whether Kieran is alive or not. And so she always has plans to survive. Solas definitely took Mythal's essence. And so there's Uchtemiel, other old gods or Avenuris souls floating around. Flemeth has plans. I'm pretty sure Flemeth is still alive. It was Mythal's betrayal by the other elven gods that led to Solas's revolution against them. It could be that he plans to use her soul to save Mythal in that moment, allowing them to defeat the other elven gods without the need to create the veil. If we do, for one mission, go back in time, then do we see a reality of that theory where Mythal is the one manipulating Solas and she's the evil one? You know, like, what would we learn? But I think it's more visiting the time, and I think the Venatori are really the ones who, because they probably have notes from Alexius and everything, and Dorian might be studying. The Venatori would be the ones to use time travel for a mission or two, and that I'd be okay with that. Not with time hopping. I'm repeating myself. If time travel is used at all, however, will be by the Venatori. It won't be without controversy. No, because I'm not a fan of that. Not at all. Not for the whole game. And there's too much going on with the Kunari and with Gillanane and everything. There's too much going on for us to be time hopping. I think the best way moving forward is just to keep moving forward in time. I think if there is one or two missions with time travel, I think it's more likely the Venatori to use it than Solas. Some fans felt that the Inquisition's use of time travel didn't fit the setting. I actually enjoyed it in Hushed Whispers, but I wouldn't enjoy it for an entire game. And opened the possibility for plot holes down the lines. Yes, especially when used for minor storylines with such a massive game as Dragon Age. If you're time hopping continuously, you have to keep track of everything, all the little changes. It would be too massive to have time hopping throughout an entire game. But when you're visiting the past and interacting with it, but it doesn't change the present moment, then that doesn't matter. It doesn't create plot holes. It just fills lore and history and knowledge of understanding of the past and backstory for many characters. And so that, I'm a fan of that. If Dragon Age 4 uses time travel, it could explain why that plot was included to begin with. I don't think it needs to explain why that plot was included to begin with. I think it fit how it was, and I think it introduces the Venatori well, even if they don't use time travel, the lengths they're willing to go to, you know, and destroy everything for Tevinter and Corypheus's mission, and how dangerous they are, and there could be worse magic than time travel from the Venatori, as well as finally explaining how Solas plans to really save the elves and doom the other races of Thedas. Yeah, that would be good to know, because we know that his ritual was interrupted by the Mortalitasi mages using the Red Lyrium idol with a Tevinter mage. So I don't think the ritual involves time travel. I think it involves just tearing down the veil, and then from there, if he time travels, he doesn't need to tear down the veil. You know what I mean? Let me know your thoughts on this article regarding time travel in Dragon Age 4. Do you think it's likely for Solas to use it? Do you think it doesn't make sense? Do you think it's more the Venatori? And what would you prefer? One or two, or maybe, you know, a few small missions, or time hopping throughout the game? And do you like the idea of going in the Fade through to visit memories, more like, for understanding and knowledge? Let me know that in the comments below. And as usual, like this video if you like it, subscribe to be Jimmy approved, and I'll see you all soon. Masaranas.